again. It's a rich thing.
Hello guys, today in this video, we're going to help you to find out the best coffee grinder in market. I made this list based on my personal opinion, and I tried to list them based on their quality, durability, customer review and more. If you want to see their price and find out more information about them, you can check our links in the description below. Number 10. Eureka Mignon Knot. Hand-built in Florence, Italy. The Eureka Mignon Knot is the best grinder we've ever tested. It's built from top to bottom with longevity in mind. You can disassemble it to service its robust inner machinery, clean the burrs, and troubleshoot any issues. Moreover, the chassis is built like a tank, and unlike most grinders, it's made almost entirely of steel. Servicing a heavy-duty machine like a burr grinder encased in flimsy plastic can be a huge pain and sometimes impossible without breaking something. Burr grinders will always run into problems. They break up oily beans into fine powders, so there's going to be some buildup somewhere. The Mignon Knot is one of the first burr grinders that I feel confident might actually outlast me. Plus, it grinds coffee to perfection in a matter of seconds, no matter how fine or coarse you want it. And it costs hundreds less than most flat burr grinders. Number 9. Fellow Opus Conical Burr Grinder. Earlier this year, Fellow introduced their second grinder, a more affordable model strategist Ryder Kag Gillespie has been using for over 6 months now. As with the Ode, the aesthetic is undeniably part of the appeal. It's more like a design object than my old Baratza, she says. It's really very impressive looking on any counter, even my nice landlord special one. The Opus costs less because it has a plastic body instead of aluminum and conical blades instead of flat that don't require as powerful a motor to cut through the beans. While the new model allows for a wider range of grind sizes, it delivers a bit less consistency, so if you're brewing for coffee, you might lose some of the nuance and depth that the Ode delivers. Still, for the average person, it works just fine, says Gillespie, who uses hers for AeroPress or French press every morning with great results. Number 8. Baratza Forte BG Commercial Coffee Grinder. If you are in fact ready to take the plunge on the very high end of the coffee grinder spectrum, it doesn't get much better than the Baratza Forte BG. The word commercial in the name is an indicator. It's intended for extensive daily use in restaurants and cafes. For one, it's virtually silent. For another, the grind by weight feature is incredible, says Reagan Petrin, specialty coffee consultant and former branding lead of Felix Roasting Co. Petrin adds that he loves its capabilities across the board, which allow him to use it both for espresso and pour over and change his grind settings as he goes. Built-in digital scale for accurate weight-based grinding or digital timer with programmable buttons to save up to 3 different presets for repeatable, one-touch grinding. The shutoff hopper allows for mess-free, easy removal of the hopper to switch between beans. Number 7. KitchenAid Burr Coffee Bean Grinder. Designed for the ultimate performance and reliability, the KitchenAid Burr Grinder uses stainless steel burrs to grind coffee consistently at any of the 15 available grind levels. The glass bean hopper holds up to 7 ounces of whole beans that you can quickly grind for French press coffee, automatic drip coffee makers, espresso, or anything in between. Jamie McCormick, co-owner of the East Village coffee shop Abraco, swears by this KitchenAid model. It grinds at an insanely consistent particle size, right up there with my shop's Malkinigi K, a commercial coffee grinder that costs over $2,500. In addition to the top-notch technicals, it's very sturdy. How does he know? It still works fine after being dropped on a concrete floor at the roastery about 5 years ago. It looks totaled and unusable, but it still purrs, no problem, he says. Number 6. Baratza Virtuoso Plus Conical Burr Coffee Grinder. If you're looking for a grinder with a timer, 4 of our baristas praise this model. You can set it to grind for a specific time, turn it on, walk away, and return to beans that are never overground. The Encore, by contrast, must be stopped and started manually. Otherwise, it is a bit of a general step up from the Baratza Encore 2, with stronger blades that are able to get a slightly finer grind for espresso. You can see a good demonstration in this video. If one or both of those attributes appeal, I think it's worth the extra $50. Ricardo also notes that it's fast and relatively quiet. Baratza grinders are preferred by coffee professionals and backed by Baratza's world-class support. Digital timer and backlit grounds bin. A 40-second digital timer, adjustable to 1/10 of a second, and an LED backlit grounds bin to dose ground coffee accurately and consistently. Number 5. OXO Brew Conical Burt Coffee Grinder. Schlater loves this OXO grinder for a number of reasons, but chief among them is its built-in intelligent scale, which means you won't lose extra money or counter space buying a separate one. The feature simplifies the process of grinding coffee for your average home brewer and cuts down on equipment. He says, enter the number of cups you're going to brew and your preferred coarseness for whatever coffee-making method you employ, and the grinder spits out exactly what you need. It's an incredibly thoughtful product, he says. If you're interested in an OXO grinder, we love so many of its kitchen products, after all, but don't need an integrated scale. Recipe developer and cookbook author Samadata recommends this model. It's $200 less than the above's regular price. I've had other grinders that gave me grief with error messages for no reason or inconsistent grounds, she says. Number 4. Eureka Mignon Filtro Coffee Grinder. Matthew Kang, editor of Eaterelle, likes the Eureka Mignon even more than the similarly priced Baratza because he says it has better grind consistency. The catch is that it only mills on the coarser end of the spectrum, meaning it's great for methods like pour-over, French press, and AirPress, but not espresso. But the grinder is strong, durable, and powerful, Kang says, breaking down whole bags of coffee at a time with its bigger-than-average 15 flat burrs. Kang does note that the machine only has a small dial to change the grind setting and a tiny button on the bottom to start the grinder without any timers. But he says that doesn't matter. In the end, the beans will be ground more consistently, resulting in better tasting coffee. This grinder certainly makes some noise, but as you can see in this video, it's quite a reasonable level, especially for this price point, as the protesting it points out. Number 3. Cuisinart Supreme Grind Automatic. Before I got my hands on the Baratza, this was the entry-level grinder I had for about a year. One of the most affordable on the market with burr-style blades. It's quite intuitive to use. You simply fill the chamber with beans, set the dial to any of the 18 settings between fine and coarse grind, set the number of cups you are planning to brew, though you won't need this if you pre-weigh the amount of beans you put in the first place, and press start. And while I only used mine once a month or so, I sometimes buy pre-ground beans, and even more so back in the day. Strategist writer Aaron Schwartz has used the same model nearly every day for more than 5 years and says it's kind of incredible that it hasn't broken or shown any signs of serious wear and tear yet. They like that the top container can fit a standard-sized bag of beans so they don't have to waste pantry space on leftovers. Number 2. Krips Precision Grinder. If you're not quite ready to take the plunge on a model upwards of $100, the Krips Precision Grinder is a very solid place to start. It comes recommended by Paul Schlater, owner of New York City-based Birch Coffee, who promises it has the essentials: 12 settings for selecting your preferred grind size and a cup selector dial to grind the exact amount of coffee you need for the number of drinks you're making, and that's it. The simplicity is exactly what strategist writer Jeremy Relosa, who bought the machine about a year ago, likes about it. Previously, Relosa used a hand crank model that took too much work and a blade grinder that resulted in uneven ground size. The Krips, he says, solves both these problems, giving him the ease of an electric machine and the consistency of a burr blade. He says. Number 1. Baratza Encore Electric Grinder. I've been using the Baratza Encore for a year now, and I love it. It's one of the tools that has convinced me to up my at-home coffee game. The machine is super intuitive to use, and initially took me no more than 5 minutes to set up and get a handle of. There are 2 simple switches, on and off, and a dial to set the grind size between 0 and 40. Mine generally stays between 25 and 30 to work with my standard coffee machine, but I've used the smallest setting for espresso. Notoriously difficult to get as fine of a grind as you need, with no problem, and the subtleties between all the sizes are very apparent. You can make minute adjustments if you're dedicated to landing on exactly what will yield the best cup for your particular coffee brewing method. It takes a couple of rounds to grind a full bag of beans, how I do it, as opposed to per serving, but works quickly at about a minute per turn.